5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Hello world, you're listening to Social Tech on Air with your host Clint Post. Every week you can listen to interviews with researchers, academics, professionals, and extraordinary people who are maximizing their lives with social technologies. The first 4 episodes establish a foundational understanding of the term social technologies. In short, social technologies are any technology that mediates human interaction. We live in a world where people and technologies are nearly indistinguishable from one another, and many of us can't live without them. So we might as well find a way to get the most out of life with technology. You can discover how to do that each week in this show. Listen and learn how you can maximize your life with social technologies. Thank you for listening. Now enjoy the show.
You're listening to episode 6. In this episode, I had the awesome opportunity to interview Seabass. Seabass is the founder of Step by Step Dance, and he's also a promotion specialist for Allegiant Air. In 2011, he founded Step by Step, which is a media, events, education, and brand that unites dancers worldwide. Their goal is to uplift dancers from all over the world. In about 6 years, they've grown from a blogging channel and a YouTube channel to having multiple YouTube channels. They have their websites, they have a Facebook that they run, a Twitter, Instagram, they even have a mobile app. And all of it is with the end goal of ultimately becoming the one source where families and people can come and enjoy dance from all over the world. And dancers are able to come and get some promotions, they're able to hook up with sponsors and get their names out there, and to be able to work in this community that's becoming one of the biggest communities around dance. One of the cool things about this interview as we learn how Seabass went from a college student who loved dancing to creating this company and then growing it to the company that it is today. In fact, across all their channels, they get over 1 million impressions a month. And it's been something pretty impressive. One of the goals that he talks about is that he wants to become the ESPN of dance, and I think it's wonderful. One of the great things I really enjoyed from this interview is how he was able to bring out what he's been learning working with Allegiant, and over all the years he's been self-promoting the step-by-step and then growing it to, he's got over 20 people from around the world, including India and Egypt, that are meeting dancers, recording, going to events. And it all is centered around this idea of support and helping and lifting others. And that's one of the great things that I really enjoyed from this interview, is that he promotes that social media, that technology, that we need to combine all this new tech with the old style, the old character of just being kind and helping others and serving one another. And that's something that I hope that you're able to pull from this. In addition to that, he shares some of the latest and greatest information that he's been getting in training and going to conferences on social media. You're going to learn things about the best uses and marketing tools on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and I hope you really enjoy it. I love the interview. I think you will too. You'll learn a lot about dance, and it'll give you some great things to talk to your friends about and coworkers, and how it applies to life in general is some wonderful, beautiful things in this episode. So with that, let's dive into the story. Awesome. I'm really excited to be here and to be able to share this time with Seabass. And thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really excited about this. I know we've discussed it over the last few weeks, and now we're doing it.
Yes, we finally made it work out. Timing seems to be something that we don't have excess of.
Right.
But I'm glad that you're taking the time to do this. So you're in the dance world, probably, well, from the people that I know, you're in it more than anyone else that I'm personally associated with. But before we get into dance and technology, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Share with our audience a little bit about yourself, and probably before we get into that, Seabass and I got to know each other back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The early 2000s sounds like so long ago.
It does, doesn't it?
It is, though.
Yeah, we were going to school in Rexburg, one of the coldest places I've ever been in my life, and dance was a lifesaver. And you made that happen in Rexburg, and happened in there more than any other small town I've been in. So, anyways, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, so I grew up in San Diego. I was born and raised, and I was the last of 5 kids. And I obviously being blessed to live in a place like San Diego, I was definitely able to see a lot of different cultures, especially with my brothers and sisters and my mom, and just growing up with all different types of music. My mother loving everything from like Motown and oldies to like country music. My grandpa was a big country music fan. And then I had my brothers and sisters who were basically like born in the 70s. So by the time I was born in 83, so by the time, I'm hitting like age 5, which would have been like 1988, I'm seeing Michael Jackson. Like I remember one of my first moments as a kid was seeing Thriller, and was also seeing like Bad and Smooth Criminal. So this was, probably between the age of like 2 or 3 all the way up to like about the age of 6. And I had like this influence of really great music. And it's almost like they call the golden era of like R&B and hip hop and just music, like pop in general, was kind of from that late 70s all the way up to, people say like 2005 is kind of when it ended. But so I was influenced with like Paula Abdul, MC Hammer, obviously Michael Jackson, Bobby Brown. Tribe Called Quest was probably my first favorite. I remember listening to Scenario and being at my grandma's work when I'm like, it's like 92, 93, and I'm like dancing like in the backyard or something, dancing to Crisscross at my grandma's work in the parking lot or whatever. So I had like all these influences. And another thing that I really was into was sports. So I had all these really great influences, not to mention, just my religious faith of being able to always look for the good, always look for the positive, always look for the things that made the best out of people. So really growing up in that era, also with country music and having like, you have like this music that's like fun and like talking about like, pretty girls and like getting down and having a good time and partying, or, staying away from like negative stuff. And then you have like this country music side, which is like talking about family and God and talking about like dogs and trucks. And so there's like this like clash inside of me, like being able to build up. And the sports side kind of came in with always wanting to be around just the captivating part, the excitement, seeing it on TV, being able to go. My brother would take me to Chargers, San Diego Chargers summer practices. So we had a great opportunity to meet the players, because back then, like, you could go to the summer camps and you could be literally shaking hands and hanging out with these players. Now, because like we live in a different world and there's security and all these things, it's a lot different. So I really started to gain like an opportunity to like use my voice, not only through like dancing and enjoying myself, but being able to like ask questions to the players. So I really kind of started to gain, obviously, from my brother Bryce, and he was kind of like the football player. So he was always like the, center of the crowd kind of person. And I mean, there were times where I remember 1992, the Dream Team came to San Diego, And my brother took me down to UCSD, and we got to get like autographs from like Chris Webber, Anthony Hardaway, like the college players were playing the dream team. And after that, we like followed their bus to their hotel, and I like snuck into the hotel, right? So this is like probably like one of those first moments where it's like me taking a risk. Like in my life, I felt like risks are very important, whether you fail or succeed. And it helps you learn a lesson in your life. And it was successful, and it was also a failure. It was a failure because I like handed my brother my ball because I didn't want them to see this little kid walking into the hotel with a basketball. They're going to kick me out. So I gave him the basketball, and I like snuck into the hotel. And then like 10 minutes later, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson walk right past me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like shaking. I'm an 8-year-old kid. And I'm like seeing Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson in front of me. I'm like 9. So, and I'm like, man. And I said hi to them, and they like kind of like shook my hand. So I got to like shake hands with them, but I didn't get the autograph. But it was still like a moment that I remember. And I walked out, and I saw as they were walking past and everybody saw them outside, I like saw my brother, and I'm like walking, and I was like, I saw them. So that was a really cool moment for me, and I feel like it really set up eventually like going through my like high school years, which was definitely a difficult time for me. I would say that between middle school and kind of towards the end of high school, that was probably like the moment that, not that I gave up on myself, but I was the smallest kid in school. I was bullied. My brothers and sisters were already married or on missions. So I really didn't, I had to like rely on friends, you know, and I had to rely on my mom. So it was just like it was a different transition from being a kid to not having like your brothers and sisters around to having to like learn certain things in life, like just overcome. So unfortunately, I didn't learn those things until I had to like have not necessarily failures, but just mistakes I made, right? So yeah, San Diego like taught me a lot. High school, I did like one of those scam like modeling agencies / you can be in the movies / you can be a TV star. I like convinced my mom to like allow me to take the classes and get the headshot, and because I wanted to be a sports reporter. That was my thing. I wanted to be on Sports Center, growing up with like Dan Patrick, Stuart Scott, Keith Olbermann. So technology definitely played an important role with music, with dance, obviously like with church, and then also with like what my goal was to do that. And I started kind of dancing a little bit more. I found some friends within church and at school who were doing like lip sync competitions, and they were like kind of looking for dancers, and that was kind of the start of like NSYNC, you know, like the boy band era.
Yep.
So it was like the fade out of like what they call new Tony, and kind of phasing into like the boy band pop era. And so I started, this is where the old school technology comes in, is like I remember getting the VHS of NSYNC live at Madison Square Garden.
You still have that, right?
I walked from my sister's house all the way to like Target just to purchase this VHS. But I watched it and rewound it. Yep. And I would watch it and just get the moves down. But I had always learned from just dancing and feeling. So freestyle had always been something in my life. And so, yeah, from there, like I that helped me kind of start to find myself a little bit. And just as I moved out of high school and went into high school, into my mission, and then into college, And really, when I got to BYU Idaho in 2003, when I met, there were like 4 friends. There was Tyson Stevens, there was Cameron Weeks, Brian Osborne, and like Ivor Lee. Like those 4 people when I first got up to Idaho, and my other friend Nate Barker, but he wasn't really a dancer. He just loved dance, and he would learn. So I taught him. But those 5 people like really influenced me to find like myself, and like they like just motivated me. And then even before that, Dave Romney back in San Diego, he was the one that after I got out of high school, he saw me at a singles dance, and he's like, dude, we're doing a lip sync competition for our singles ward, and we want to be called in rhythm. We want to do these in sync dances. Do you want to teach us? Do you want to dance? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah, I was like dancing at like church dances and stuff. I wasn't really even involved in battles. Like I wasn't involved in the actual hip hop culture. I just had influences, and I'd seen people like break dancing and stuff, b-boying.
Nice.
So anyways, transition that to BYU Idaho, where, you know, Tyson Stevens and Brian Osborne, they taught me like about the culture, about like breaking, graffiti, like the DJ, and then just like MC, you know, the rapper, the beatbox and all that. So, and that was something that Brian Osborne, you know, he did a band called Love You Long Time. They were like Beastie Boys meets like crazy electro music. But he would break. He would do graffiti. He could rap, and like he could DJ. So it was like, what? Like, dude, this is awesome. I need to be here at this church school to find myself and to really find my faith, but I'm also discovering myself and what I want to do. So, yeah, just from there, like everything just kind of spawned and helped me create events, and eventually creating those events in Idaho helped me create step by step.
Nice.
So
Well,
a little long history, but it kind of goes into the whole technology side of.
Yeah. Well, actually, I like the history because it's bringing back it's nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive into that history time at BYU Idaho, because,
yeah,
you know, I went there. That was my first university. I did a few semesters and worked out of Rexburg for a while. And it seemed like the only thing that there was to do was to take midnight drives to Jack in the Box or find out where a band was performing.
Yeah.
Usually in some, you know, weird closed store or somebody's basement. Or go to these dance events that you'd put on. What was the scene like when you got there?
Man, so this is like the early times of, there's no YouTube, like even just with the technology. So I remember, like we'll go a little bit into the future. I remember my roommate, Zach Stout, I remember him like talking to me about how he in Alaska would be using SoulSeek, which is like one of those Napster, you know, type file sharing programs. He would be using those to like watch battles and watch just early footage, because a lot of these, it was VHS, man. Like that was what people in the hip hop culture, and this is just what I've learned from 2003 to the present time.
Yep.
It was VHS. I mean, you had like stacks and stacks of VHS, and there's people to this day, like you can just go over to their house and it's like, just VHS everywhere. Oh man, I got to get that VHS of Storm from Germany, you know, teaching the fundamentals of breaking. Mm-hmm. So that was like something that was really interesting to me, because I remember when I was first learning like breaking and when I was learning different styles, I remember Tyson and a couple other people like Cam, they had like these VHS and stuff. So, and now it was like kind of transitioning into the DVD era. Mm-hmm. So for us, it was like we had to go out and find the music. So sometimes it was like CDs. I remember like searching CDs in like late high school, early like after high school, so like 18, 19, like trying to find CDs because I wanted that one song to get down to.
Right.
And it was like a compilation album. It was like MTV Party to Go 97, you know? So there wasn't like there wasn't that like iPod or anything. So of course, I'm sure back in the day, people having to search like vinyls or search cassettes, like
Right.
they could probably relate to that. So in terms of just being able to share information and to find the information, I'd probably say the first moment that we discovered anything outside of like what Zach, I didn't even know about, like I knew about SoulSeek, but I didn't know that there was these videos that you could watch on there. Otherwise, I would have probably been watching them. So I'd probably say like VHS, and then like just some websites that were out there that people would share, because Facebook wasn't there. MySpace really didn't come until, gosh, MySpace was like 2005, 2006 maybe.
It's something around there.
I don't know. MySpace page is still loading. All those crazy. Remember how long it used to take to?
I actually got off my mission kind of at the tail end of MySpace. Well, I guess in the middle of MySpace, before Facebook, of 2006, and I never got into the Facebook.
It would take.
into the MySpace, but my siblings.
Yeah, it would
did.
take like 10 minutes, you know, and that's how I would search out for different dancers that I wanted to bring up. Eventually, with my events, I would message them on MySpace because they would have like, oh, it's like B-Boy Miracles or B-Boy Jeromski, and that was like the original Facebook was how I was trying to contact them, say, hey, I'd like to like fly you up to Idaho to perform and judge and teach. So anyways, before that, there's a couple websites that were foreign websites, Style to Ouf and then 1000 pour 100. And those were two websites that every week it would update. And so we would watch all the videos, and then we'd be like, dang, man, shouldn't have watched everything in like one day because, you know, like we have to wait a week again until they upload more videos. So this was probably late 2004, early 2005, that really like that whole YouTube vibe is being created. And we're watching people from France, from Asia. We're watching early Red Bull BC1. Like this was like the first year was 2004. So, and we're just like, okay, shoot, like pause that, let it load because it's going to take an hour to load anyways. Like, let's go try and do this move and stuff. So, so really like with those websites, that's when it kind of really started to go in terms of learning the dance. And then ordering, after I saw Juste Debout 2005, or just clips of it, I ordered the DVD. I was like, dude. So they shipped it from France to Rexburg, Idaho. Like, if you can imagine that, like Paris, France, and they're probably like, what's Rexburg, Idaho? Where is that? You know?
Never heard of that.
But we bled that DVD out. I mean, we bled that thing dry. We were watching every single style. And then obviously Freestyle Session was probably the biggest. Battle of the Year and Freestyle Session and IBE were the three big ones that we were watching. Each of them were known for their VHS, specifically Freestyle Session. Definitely shout out to Cross One, because he had been basically starting it from nothing. And Freestyle Session 8, by far in the hip hop culture, like in breaking, even in other styles, that was the, like, I wouldn't say pinnacle because it keeps the competition keeps rising, but that was like, it's like that Super Bowl, right? Like the Patriots and the Giants, you know, when the guy made the catch, like, and it was like, oh, and then the Giants end up scoring a touchdown. It was like that. That was like the one that everybody goes to, like, oh man, Freestyle Session 8. I always watch that because it was just so raw. They had got kicked out of the convention center, so they had to go do it on the Queen Mary cruise ship. And it just like, it was so hip hop, man. Like, so yeah, anyways, just from there, like Facebook started, that really helped with being able to invite people, especially just because it was a college email at the time. So we were able to just like start inviting people. And if you got a Facebook invite at the time, it was like, oh yeah, this is going to be dope.
Right.
And then, yeah, from there, YouTube started, and that just obviously, that just changed the whole game. So, for sure, I would say those initial websites, getting a DVD, still using the VHS, and then just the start of Facebook and YouTube. It was really crazy how it transitioned from 2003 to from starting school and then going to 2008. How much of a transition happened just in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, you think about, like, let's go back to 1970. If it was like 1973 to 1978, there wasn't that much as there was like a 2003 to 2008. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Like, so it's amazing to me that all this happened even just within like 2 or 3 years. And now we could be connected all around the world.
Yeah.
So
what are some of the, obviously there's stigmas that come with dance, and you say, maybe there's some keywords. You say graffiti and people think, they're going out vandalizing.
Right.
But how's that changed over time? With the advent of technology. Prior to the advent of technology, what was the general sentiment towards, let's go in a little bit more defining for the listeners. Dance. How do you define dance? What specific dance are we talking about? Genres, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. So, dance in general, like, obviously it's been around since the beginning of time. But in terms of dance, like, everybody in our, like, as I've grown within the actual community of like hip hop culture, and learning other cultures within what people would say urban or street, dance is just dance, honestly. Like, it's just being able to move to music, or even without music, and just being able to move your whole body, not just one part of your body. Move your feet, move your head, it's just a movement to be able to express yourself. So when it comes to all these other dance styles that have been happening, you have ballet that has history, it has foundations. Jazz kind of came along, jazz and contemporary obviously came along a little bit later, but ballet, has been happening for a long time. African dancing is definitely one of those that has roots farther back than a lot of these dances. So, when we talk about like just, tribes or anything around the world, there's always been some form of dancing, some form of music in some way, just to express or celebrate or mourn. When it comes to hip hop culture, hip hop wasn't really called hip hop until about 1981 with Afrika Bambaataa, but like the idea of the culture and like what it was like around 73 with DJ Kool Herc. And it was just him throwing a birthday party for his sister, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, Bronx, New York. And then all of a sudden, people are getting down, and you have a lot of this influence from Latin America, Africa, a lot of these people that are living in the ghettos, and they're dealing with like, poverty, they're dealing with crime, they're dealing with drugs, they're dealing with all these different things. And so, during that time, there's like so many like bad things that are happening. It was like bound to have a couple people that were going to create something good, no matter what community you're in, whether you're in like behind the gates of a really nice house, or if you're in, the slums of a ghetto, there's always going to be good no matter what. And that's something I truly believe in. And I think today in our world, we don't really grasp that. And that was harder to grasp. That was harder to grasp in a time when there wasn't as much technology. And maybe it was just involved with community, like having to write letters, having to like actually go and visit somebody, like transportation wise. There's not these websites where you can go rent a car or find out when the bus comes. So it was like a real struggle. Like, you really just had to take the risk. I talked about risk earlier. It was just like people would take the risk to go do these things. So within that hip hop community, you have all these different cultures that are bringing their own dance. You have the Latins that are bringing that Latin dance. You have the Africans that are bringing the African. Even the Caribbeans that were living in that area are bringing that, what they call dance hall, which is kind of like an African style dance, but they're adding more like Latin movement to it. So you see the fusion of it. You also have like swing dance. You have jazz. You have street jazz. You have this influence from Broadway with like Gene Kelly, Nicholas Brothers. You have tap dance. So it's all of these different styles being fused together. And now you get what's called the break. So the break in the music is DJ Kool Herc is DJing, rappers, singing on it. And then all of a sudden there's a break in the middle of the music. That's kind of the breakdown of the music. That's where the break dancer comes from. So when people say break dancer, they're dancing to the break. It's actually termed breaking. So they're just breaking. It's not break dance. And so they termed it break boy, break girl, or Bronx boy, Bronx girl, B-boy, B-girl, because it's from the Bronx, they're breaking. And so that in and of itself is like the top rock. And you have all like these different styles, being able to go down to the floor and do footwork, do a windmill, like do swipes. But then you also have like a style of popping, which is coming in. So you have the East Coast, which you have your breaking, you have your graffiti. Graffiti is always probably going to be known as seeing graffiti on the side of a building, right, or seeing it on a train, right? Because back in the day, that was what was happening. They didn't have anywhere that they could go and just like, of course they're doing graffiti probably like on like a piece of wood, but the train was like, that's where people will get to know me. You know what I mean? That was their canvas. Mm-hmm. Whereas like maybe a rich person, their canvas is a canvas, right. Their canvas was the train. And, even though it was like something illegal, it was also something that was really setting up a culture. And then they would find these abandoned buildings and they would just be doing all these amazing things. And up until probably about 2-3 years ago, there's a place called 5 Points, which is basically known as like where everybody from around the world comes, and they do a set and like what's called bombing, like they bomb with a graffiti can and they just do their thing, and it's up for like maybe a week. They paint over it again, and then somebody new comes and it's respected. But unfortunately, there was a like businessman that took it over, and they're trying to bring culture into something that was already culture. So I guess all in all, like the way that things were, it's because of where they came from. So the misnomer is like, okay, like I'm judging this based off of where this is coming from. And then it comes into mainstream and people are like, oh, well, they're doing graffiti on a train, or, they're dancing, or they're rapping like this and they're cussing. So for me, I find the roots of the positivity, because hip hop is peace, love, unity, and having fun. That's really the slogan, the motto of what hip hop is. And if you go back to a lot of the original hip hop, it was like, they're just like scat, like hip hop, the hippie to the hip hop, you don't stop. It was just them like just saying words. Mm-hmm. So, and eventually Bambaataa was like, oh, hip hop, like that's dope. That's what it's going to be called, So anyways, I think the biggest thing from it is that like eventually, because it died out commercially, like commercially they didn't have any more use for it. So then it comes up again like late 80s, early 90s, and it's like East Coast, West Coast. Now it's gangs, and it's like, okay, well, they were trying to break away from the gangs with the original culture, and then they were still doing that stuff, but unfortunately people still got with the gangs, in New York and in all these different communities, and ended up, with like having this East Coast, West Coast, like Crips and Bloods, and and you have like the gangster rap, and you have all of this that is kind of, for me, I believe, even though a lot of people would say, yeah, it's an influence and stuff, I think it's been a negative influence, because you're taking from the essence of it, and now you're talking about like money and alcohol and drugs again, and these are like all the things that the original purpose of how hip hop was started from nothing and it was created into something was because they were trying to get away from those things. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at it that way, like just in terms of like the technology that went along with it, you have other styles that came along, locking, which is like a real funky dance. It was just like, if you hear like James Brown or Michael Jackson or like Parliament Funk, is that funk music. So they were getting down to that. You have popping, which comes from like the West Coast, has roots in California, in the Bay Area, also in LA. And there was gangsters getting down, you know, and like, but it took away a lot of people, even though there was like murderers and stuff, it did take away people from those bad things. And then you also saw hip hop freestyle, which I talked about, New Jack, which was basically guys that didn't want to break on the floor. They just wanted to get down. So they created their own moves. House dance is its own culture. Whacking, voguing has its own culture. Crump has its own culture. So within those that I just mentioned, people term that street. And like house was started in a warehouse, you know, house music started in Chicago, had roots in New York, but it was done in a warehouse. Why I call it street is because people do it on the street. It's because of the street culture that started. So, and some people disagree with me about that, but my view of what I've learned of it is that they took from the street culture they were living in, and even though they were doing it in like a warehouse or a studio or on the concrete, it's still that street vibe. It's not coming. We don't say like, yeah, you know, it's like rich dance. Yeah, because, you know, it came from the riches. Like it does. It comes from the urban streets. And it's awesome, man. It's awesome to see. The funny thing now is that hip hop culture, having been where it started, is so much bigger around the world than it is here.
Yeah.
It's because they appreciate it, because these people that and we're so blessed to live in a country that has these freedoms, and we're blessed to have all these different cultures that come in and add to what the American culture is. And that's really what hip hop was. And now, unfortunately, people that sell it out there, it's just the rap is just bad. Not necessarily the dance. I think people look at rap music and then they just automatically associate it with dance. And it has become that way in the choreography world, where you see like 8-year-old kids in the studio dancing to like unedited rap music. And people are going to see that and they're like, oh, well, I don't want to put my kid in that class because hip hop is bad and they're doing these moves and this is the music. So that's what I'm trying to bring back, is that essence of really what hip hop was. And people can still keep that notion of, yeah, you know, it was the ghetto, it was all this. Of course, can't lose the roots of where it comes from, but you can still be able to market it in a way that is acceptable to everybody.
Yeah. Well, I like that. Understand that history a little bit better. It's, I think I've heard it said before that dance is a universal language.
Yeah.
Much like music, but you know, with music, there's lyrics, and whether or not you understand the lyrics depends on the languages that you speak. But with dance, I mean, if you can see, even feel rhythm,
Yeah.
you can connect with people.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I just went to Japan for my first time about a week and a half ago. I was there for a week, and the language barrier was so tough. But when I got on dance floors, when I was able to use like my phone and be like, hey, do you know where this is? people could direct me to where the studio was, or when I had 2 dancers that I was filming and one guy that could only speak English and translate to them, it was like, okay, hey, I want you to dance in front of the camera, and then I'm going to be behind you the next time. Like, so first time, do this, and then I go the second time, I'll be behind you, and you just dance to the music. And so they would get it, you know? And it's really interesting. Just one of the, like, my favorite moments was after one of the competitions in Nagoya. I was just dancing, and they have what's called a cipher. So a cipher is basically just a circle, right? And the cipher is just come have fun. It doesn't matter if you're good or not. Just feel the music, come out into the circle and have fun. And nobody's going to hate on you. You may get battled, like there may be a battle, but everybody respects each other. And sometimes like a cipher can just get really, like, if B-boys, like, they just like think they're so hard and like, oh man, I didn't win, so I got to prove myself now in the cipher. But for me, after the competition's over, I'm like, yo, it's time to party. Like, forget this. Like, fellas, go grab a girl, dance with her. Like, if there's kids in the area, like, encourage them, have fun with them, teach them. And so I was just doing moves and like just getting down, and it's called like party dances. It's like a hip hop. I talked about the hip hop freestyle, the New Jack. And so I'm just doing these different party dances, like the Running Man and the Roger Rabbit, and these kids just behind me. There's like probably like 6 or 7 kids, and they start doing it with me, and I didn't even know. And then I like kind of look out the corner of my eye, and I'm like, oh, they're doing it with me. All right, awesome. And so for like a good 2-3 minutes, we just like, I was just doing these different dances, and just people kept coming, and it kept growing. And that's what it's about. Honestly, at the end of the day, like, it's about being able to just to bring positivity to people and like enlighten their world, help them forget their problems, help them become a better person. And dance and music does that. And we have to, like, I personally have to fight to be able to show that to people and be like, look, you don't need to dance to this music, like, or if you do, like, edit it so it, like, so you don't like ruin that 8-year-old kid. Let him be a kid, you know? Like, let him enjoy that dance, or respect women, or respect yourself for the things you're putting into your mind and your soul. Because like you said, you know, there's a good friend of mine that passed. His name's Wave-O-Matic. He actually was one of Michael Jackson's teachers at one time. And he does a style of popping called waving. And he said dance is the fingerprint of the soul. It really is, you know. And being able to embody that and be able to share that, you want somebody to bear their soul to who they are and help them become a better person. So it's amazing just to be able to go to these different countries and not know the language, but be able to speak on the dance floor.
That's cool. So your friend Wave-O-Matic, sorry to hear about that. And Seabass, tell me, what's with names in dance culture? Because a lot of them have these, if you would, pseudonyms.
Yeah, definitely. So my name Seabass just comes from Dumb and Dumber. So it wasn't anything like too special. They're like, oh, Sebastian, or that's not my name. My name's Clayton. It was just something my best friend gave me in high school, and so it just kind of went along with it. But yeah, you know, dance names are usually like given to people. They aren't necessarily, you don't give them to yourself. Some people do. That's unfortunate because you're like kind of meant to earn your name. So yeah, I mean, like Wave-O-Matic, he's known for like doing waves with his arms and like waves with his bodies. And like, he's Greek. He like, you know, he was like proud of being Greek, and his name was Nikos, and like, and he's just this OG, which is just, OG is basically like somebody who's been a pioneer in something, you know, like, man, that's OG Wave-O-Matic, man. He's been dancing since 81, you know, he like, and it's 2011, you know, he's been dancing for 30 years, man. And, you know, he taught Michael how to do different waves and stuff. So, yeah, it's just, the name is just all about like somebody sees you and you just be like, oh man, like dope. Oh, Jam. Like my roommate, his name's Joey. His middle name's A, and then his last name's Mendel. So it's Jam, you know. Or there's like, I'm trying to think, like Joe Styles, you know, is another friend of mine, and like his name's Joseph, but like he does different styles, so people call him Joe Styles, you know. Or Les Twins. They're just that's more of like a performance name that they gave themselves because they're twins and they're from France, you know. So it's really just about what flavor you bring your style, and about 99% of the time, it's what people give you the name.
Nice.
So
there's a story behind names. So next time I run across somebody, I'll ask what the story is.
Yeah, and even like crew names, this is kind of like what people come up with. You know, I'm part of the crew called the Body Poets. I think some of the first crews that we started up in Idaho, the first one was Rexburg Wrecking Crew. Okay, that was our name, Rexburg Wrecking Crew. I think we also had like Boogie Down Bishops to go along with the whole like Mormon thing. Right. We might have even been Peter Priesthoods at one point or something. Peter Priest in the Hood or something. Yeah. Probably some things that we probably shouldn't have said. But, you know, the last name that I kind of had for our crew up there was called the Rhythm Rascals. And it was just, we were just acting like a bunch of rascals, you know, like Little Rascals, the movie. And we all had like different styles, but we all were like in the same rhythm. I've been a part of a crew called Groundhounds, which was two crews that came together, and Groundhounds just formed. And then, Step by Step is obviously the company that I came up with. And then the Body Poets is just something our crew leader, Omid, came up with in 2005. Cool. So.
Well, let's go ahead and I'd love to keep going into the stories, but we got a great background, and I think groundworks on what dance is. So what led up to the what's the inspiration behind the creation of Step by Step, your company?
Yeah. So 2005 was like the first year that I created an event up in Idaho. Obviously, Idaho and hip hop don't necessarily go together. Right. So when you go back to talking just about how like people kind of perceive hip hop, that was my whole goal. Because being at a church school, one semester we'd have a hip hop club, and then the next semester there'd be some kids in the student body that would be like, oh, hip hop's bad. And so we would like go from being a club to not being a club to not. And so we just kept training on campus. We just kept dancing. So I was like, you know, I'm just tired of this. I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm going to go off campus. Let's throw a battle. And so we started throwing battles, started getting the community involved. I wanted to actually reach out to like the city council, and just involve the community, go to the high school, go to the elementary schools, the middle schools, invite people out, let people perform that thought they were doing hip hop, but be able to let them perform and then teach them, give them the opportunity, and then be an example. So that led me to start dance battles, which were basically every Wednesday we would do this dance thing called Dance Battle Wednesday. And we would just have people battling each other in different styles of dance. Sometimes people weren't dancers. They were just kids that just loved to goof off, and they would practice with their crew before the week, and we'd have different rounds. So it ended up just being like a really great opportunity for people to remove themselves from school, remove themselves from life, just come have fun, meet people, and just unify. Peace, love, unity, and having fun. That's what it was all about. So anyways, from there, I started doing more events in Idaho, and that really was the foundation for what Step by Step would be. And in 2011, I was able to have this idea where I personally wanted to travel the country from when I was living in Phoenix to go to Atlanta to audition for So You Think You Can Dance. But along the way, I wanted to create like a short documentary about going different places and seeing how people dance in Texas, seeing how people dance in Louisiana, and like being able to tell their story. So I was like, I started the blog because blogs were like so hot,
Right.
you know? Those were the thing. Like, I'm going to start a blog. I'm going to start a Tumblr. So anyways, from there, I just started blogging. And then I kind of like interviewed a couple people and kind of posted some stuff up. And then the trip didn't happen, but back in, let's see, so that was like kind of February 2011. And then I ended up moving to Las Vegas that summer. So like May, I was working for And One Street Ball, and I was going to be setting up games with And One Street Ball around the world. That didn't end up working out. So couple, probably like a month, maybe like half a month after that didn't work out, I started blogging about dance again, and I started researching. And I'm like, you know what? All these people are getting so much shine in LA and New York, but there's so many dope people in Idaho and Utah. There's so many dope people, I'm sure, around the world in small cities that deserve the shine. So I was like, I'm going to start interviewing people. I'm going to start like promoting events. I'm going to start doing this and like blogging. And then I had a camera. And so I'm like, I'm going to start going to events and start filming dancers. I'm going to start interviewing them. And then I got my first big opportunity with Hip Hop International, which is basically called the Olympics of hip hop dance. And it may not necessarily be really full hip hop culture, but it definitely embodies the peace, love, unity, and having fun and being able to, you do have to do at least 3 styles within the like street dance. So it's like almost 50 different countries, almost 4,000 dancers coming to Las Vegas to compete in a choreography crew competition, all the way from juniors to varsity to adult to mega crew, which is like 15 to 50 people. And then they also have individual battles one day, and then they have workshops. So it's just a whole week of like vendors, dance, and people just getting to know each other from other countries and dancing with each other. That was my first opportunity where I got to interview people, where I got to like film the dance. And then I didn't know anything about video. I didn't know anything about editing. I mean, I knew a little bit. I had a little experience, but I literally taught myself from like just learning, going on YouTube, asking questions of people. Facebook has always been a great resource. Like I would send interview questions to people on Facebook messages. I would like ask for media accreditation to these events. So really like Facebook and YouTube really helped me like capture the essence of starting step by step in 2011. And then, I mean, wow, it's 2016, almost the end, and we're like one of the biggest media in the world, you know? So it's just been incredible opportunity. In fact, one of the first people, actually in 2012, one of the first people that I interviewed and took a picture with, I actually got to meet up with her in Japan a couple of weeks ago and film her and her friend, like do a freestyle. And it was such a cool, like full circle moment. Like she found the picture of us because I couldn't find it. She's like, oh, this is us from 2012. I'm like, what? And then I was able to connect with her out there and film her. So it really, it showed me that take the risk, always have faith in, like, have faith in God, or faith in, if you believe in the universe, or just faith in yourself, to do positive things. And it showed me that even in that moment where I was doing something with like not even a very good camera, that if you work hard and if you do things for other people, if you serve other people, and if you use the right methods, you can get to these places where these people live. Like, it was just crazy for me. I was just like, wow. And I told her too, I was out there, I'm like, I can't believe like we're in this moment right now that I have a really nice camera that I can film you. Because back then, my car was almost repossessed. There was like all these risks I was taking. And here I am in this moment. And I'm able to enjoy it with you in Japan. Wow. So that was kind of a cool moment to bring step by step full circle.
That's cool. It's kind of, so it started out with a blog, a desire to share, and a camera that you happen to have. And do you remember what the camera model was?
It was like a cheap Sony or Canon, and I think it only shot up to like 480 or something, like
squared.
640 or something. It was like, it might have been 720, but I don't think it was HD. But there's even people from 2011 that I see every day. They're huge dancers. Like, I saw them from when they were starting to where they are now, and they're some of the best dancers in the world. And it's like, dude, remember like when I interviewed you for that first time? He's like, yeah, man, you've always supported. And I'm like, always. So
just remember me.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Cool. So where's it started out with that? Here we are, 2016. It's not just a blog and a YouTube channel. What do you have going on now?
Man, yeah, it's crazy too. Just because we aren't on the blog too much. We still do blog. I think it's definitely a different generation. I'd still like writing. I think I'll write forever, just because there's just something about being able to sit down and read, something about being able to just sit there and you just, to just something different than watching a video. Obviously, watching a video, you see somebody talking, you hear something. That's always going to be the main thing, having that communication. But yeah, I mean, we've been able to really grow, step by step from, we've done this on our own budget. Honestly, like we've done it from like being able to monetize on YouTube, which isn't there anymore because of copyright issues. And also just YouTube, there's just oversaturation of content that's out there. But we've been able to create like new platforms and be able to connect with, we've had gigs. So we like have a crew within Step by Step that if we get hit up for a gig, we'll go out and dance. We've danced for Intel. We've danced for LinkedIn. We've danced for Autodesk. We've danced for, who else have we danced for? I think we did one for Microsoft. Huawei, which is one of the largest technology companies in the world. And we've done it at the CES, which is the largest consumer electronics show in the world.
Wow.
So for us to be there, and that literally was just people would search. When we were writing blogs, I would tag so many different things within that people would email us because we would show up on Google SEO, like the SEO. We would get up there so much because people were reading our blog, and so it would connect businesses with us like, hey, we're looking to like hire a crew. And we'd be like, cool, yeah, we can do it. And then we get hired and do these really cool gigs. And then I just started building a crew, and then all of a sudden I started building a crew of people who could write, building reps who could film, building reps who would just go to events and just say, hey, what's up? I'm with Step by Step. We just wanted to come say hi. We're not filming, but we just wanted to say, hey, we're come supporting. Because that really is really like the most important thing to me, right? Is like support. That's why I started doing what I'm doing, because I wanted people to understand that even though you're not in LA, you're still an incredible dancer. You still have a story. Everybody has a story. And Step by Step for me was just something that, for me, I saw it as an opportunity to give people a voice. I mean, it's uplifting dancers in the hip hop culture, or in the essence of hip hop culture. But really, Step by Step, the name, I was like, when I first thought of it, like it was really a vision from God. Like, people need to take things step by step. Like, they need to just take one step and then go to the next one and then go to the next one and just become better, go higher, and we've been able to create some new platforms that we're looking to hopefully become the ESPN of the dance world. And there's a ton of amazing media out there that we've been able to connect with, and they have just the way that they create stories, the way that they share the dance, the way that they share the interviews, are amazing, and we just want to be the ones. We want to be like the Walmart, you know. We want to accept every brand, be able to be like, yeah, you know, some people are gonna like this, some people are gonna like this, but we know that no matter what, any family around the world can sit and watch Step by Step and know that they're not going to be like threatened by something. They're not going to have to turn it off, you know. Obviously, there's going to be those people that probably don't agree with things, but all in all, I want to create that old Star Search vibe. I want to create that old American Bandstand. I want to create that Soul Train. I want to create that opportunity for everybody to come and feel like, wow, I got to be on Step by Step, or wow, I want to be on Step by Step one day. Or just, you know, I feel like we've lost that with technology, because we have like Snapchat, we have Instagram, we have the selfie, we have the Facebook video, and it's like people are trying to become Insta famous, you know, Snapchat famous, and it's for like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, you know, or 6 seconds when like Vine was around. And it's like, if we can really be able to use the new technology, but keep the old essence and really like integrate that, that will help, I believe, not only allow us to continue having that communication and unify people, but it'll provide so many new ideas. And the reason I think that we're so divided, not only in this country, in this world, is because we have all this media that's just like me, me, me. Watch me in my room. Watch me in my house. And it's not like, dang, I want to go out to the park and get down. Dang, I want to go out to the mall and like meet somebody new. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
We're losing that. And I feel like what God has basically put inside of me, from 5 years old to being in Idaho to create events that will help people just to escape and to be better people, to now on a worldwide basis. It's my duty. It's not even something that I want to do. It's my duty, you know? So.
That's exciting. So Step by Step, it's spelled what? STEPX? STEP?
Yep.
You got
we get people still saying Step X Step.
Step X Step.
Mostly foreigners, because they don't understand the 4x4 step by step kind of thing.
So Step by Step, you got your website, you got a mobile app.
We do.
You have a YouTube channel, which that's probably some of the best content there, right?
Yeah.
And then Twitter and Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
Awesome. Speaking of Facebook, here, maybe this is kind of where we can get close to wrapping up.
Yeah.
There was a YouTube video here a few months ago that you'd commented on your Facebook, and so I follow you on Facebook. You personally have a Facebook and Twitter and that. Is it what, Seabass? If people want to look you up.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And so on this YouTube video, it was a kid who was dancing, and his style was, well, I think what somebody did is they cut his dance and then showed Les Twin next to it to basically call the kid out on plagiarization or a copycat of them. And anyways, a lot of harsh comments on it. Yeah. Which, based off from our conversation, doesn't seem like that's the nature or the intent of dance, or let alone hip hop, is that love, peace, unity. Right. So you made a comment on there, and I'm trying to remember the exact comment. You remember the gist of that conversation?
Yeah. So basically, my whole thing, and there's actually something I kind of want to retract with that, because I kind of took it from a not necessarily a defensive role, but I used the wrong wording, is what it was, because I definitely don't agree with what the kid is doing. But when you come from a dance world of dancers who've been mimicking Michael Jackson and have probably made money off of that fact, there's nothing that anybody can say. Of course, you can't claim like the kid. I don't think the kid ever claimed that it was his. And I believe he did. I mean, there's a lot of things the kid the kid did. So basically, he took something of what the Lay Twins did and did it himself. And I've seen other kids do it. And apparently, he made money with it, either on a music video or doing something. And yeah, of course, I totally agree. That's not right. People called him out, and apparently, like, he came back and was like cussing people out and doing all these things. And I don't agree with that at all. But the way that people handle things, we live in like a you're already guilty world instead of like trying to understand the kid. And so for me, obviously, when I learn those things about how he's acting, my first thing is, yeah, the next time I see him, I'm going to do my best. I'm not going to go up and point at him and say, man, you shouldn't be doing this. We got to be examples. You know what I mean? And really, it's the duty of the Lay Twins to reach out to him. And if they need to cut the video from YouTube, they have that right because they're with a company that can do that. They can, the company, you know, Dance On can go and find that video and tell YouTube, say, hey, you need to cut this video. And they can cut it. But they didn't do that. So my whole point was, instead of us like sitting here and like, you know, this kid, you're dumb, you're stupid, and calling him all those names, let's like try to understand him first. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he's a Lay Twins fan. Obviously he made some money off of it, and that's not right. But the way we approach it and the way that people approach social media is just, it's vile. It's so vile. You can like go on to like political posts and like you can read some things and like go home and start crying because you're like, why?
Yeah.
Why did I see that? Same thing with Twitter. And, you know, like the big thing, I guess, recently is like the fake news in the media. You like you have to double check everything. Sometimes triple check, sometimes.
Yep.
And I've done that with people before that have shared things with me, like politically. And I'm like, did you actually go and check this site and see that it's wrong?
Right.
And be like, oh, wow. So when it comes to dance, like, we have to check people, obviously, for what they call, you guys call plagiarizing, we call biting.
Okay.
It's like, you're biting my move. And that kid was checked, and obviously I believe the Twins called him out and stuff. And if he's still doing that, that's his thing. But for people to put their like energy and to make it bad, I'm really a person that's like, I've been in that place before where I've called people out like that, and that was years ago, and I realized I was putting out negative energy. Like, I want to be a teacher. I don't want to be somebody who, you know, who sits there and like just brings negativity and doesn't have a teaching moment. Of course, there are moments where you have to like be that person, but when it comes to like YouTube and what people, you can go on and find thousands of videos where people are doing that. And it's just interesting to me that people were so mad at him because we're one of the largest like Lay Twins content just in terms of our videos that we've interviewed them, the dance videos we've been able to shoot of them. So people come to us a lot, as well as like Yak Films and a couple others. And so I went on the video and I exactly said what I said on that. And our comments, like, people were just saying, how dare you, like, you're not sticking up for the Twins. And I stuck up for the Twins on it too. But people already have like this thing in their mind, like, I'm gonna post this. And I just think that that's what's wrong with social media. You know, people don't think before they tweet. People don't think before they post. Like, it's really just about becoming a better person. So like I said, if I see that person, if I meet that kid, I would love to just talk to him and be like, yo, like, you know, come on, man, you know, you copied that and stuff. Like, don't you feel like it would be a great opportunity for you to be like, use that influence, but to do your own thing, because you're going to be known for being original. And I know other dancers who used to really mimic the Twins and then ended up finding their own style. And now they've been doing tours with Madonna. They did Cirque, you know, and because actually the Twins were able to help them find their own style. So I just, you know, it's really just about being an example and really just stepping back and being like, okay, what can I do to make sure this doesn't happen, but also what can I do to make sure that I'm an example.
Yeah.
So that was my reason for that post, because it was like a really hypocritical thing that people were doing. It's like, come on, like I've made money off of dancing like Michael Jackson, you know?
Right.
And
Look at
those
all
are
the
his
street
moves,
dancers.
you know what I mean? So, yeah, I just felt like I needed to say something. So.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciated the comment that you'd made, because it demonstrated that level of maturity, thoughtfulness, and taking, I guess, you know, not to use the colloquial term, but the higher road, if you would. But it's just the humanity road. The way you treat people on the internet should be just as thoughtful or at least considerate as you do in person. So
yeah. Well, and I think in anything, especially you look at any art out there, if somebody does try to copycat, like either people like talk to them and they become friends, or they like become enemies, or even like let's take like the kung fu world or something, like martial arts. Like if somebody had taken something from, you know, Bruce Lee, then like Bruce Lee would like battle that person and they would battle it out. And we had a moment like that with the Body Poets. Actually, that was my first Body Poets gig. I actually got battled into the crew at a battle because so with Body Poets, we have these zip up like the Superfan suits, you know, that they're like the tight suits, and sometimes they're like blue, and they're just, you look like you're conforming out of like, do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
They're the suits that people wear, and they're really tight. You see the guys at sports events, and they're like yellow and blue. They're called Superfan suits. Okay. Anyways, so that's what we wear, and we would wear like yellow and red and black. Eventually, we just went to black, and then we started creating our own character with our clothes. But there was a crew in Sacramento that was starting to wear those same suits, but they were doing different colors. So that would be like if the Jabberwockies had another crew that was wearing Jabberwocky masks, but different colors.
Yeah.
Like, that's not right. Like, come on. So we ended up having a battle for, like, and these guys were just starting in, like, 2012, 2013, when Body Poets has been going since 2005. So it's like, dude, why are you guys doing this? Like, this is our crew. So we battled them and we beat them, you know, and we kept our suits because the battle was for the suits. And then they just faded out. They didn't do anything else. They kind of went and did their own thing. Like, and, you know, I'm friends with some of those people that we like joke about it sometimes because we've actually battled each other before. Like, we've matched up in battles before, and we're like, oh, this is awkward, but, you know, but I'm cool with them. You know, it was just one of those moments where we had to battle for it. So it's just one of those things, like, step back for a second, try to understand the person, let them know, like, hey, this is my idea. What's your idea? And, you know, if it doesn't that way, then you make your thing better and you make the world known, you know, make yourself more known that this is original. So,
yeah, that's cool. So, along the lines of technologies, what do you do personally to be effective with it? You know, be that how to avoid the rabbit holes or the kitten movies, or I can imagine I do it sometimes too, where I get on a kick and start watching dance videos.
Yeah.
And then, 2 hours later, I'm saying, oh, shoot, I didn't get my work done.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've all been there. Sorry. So what's the question?
Just you work with technology every day, day in and day out. But how do you maintain a focus, or how do you make sure that you're most effective with it?
So it's nice to be in a job. I work for a Legionnaire, so I'm a promotion specialist, and I also work next to the PR department. And so we've had some great opportunities to learn about when the right times are to post on certain media. We got to go to like a video workshop last month where we get to learn how to like create better social media videos. So I'm always trying to learn how to do things better, and even just having my roommate and one of, like, honestly our best editor, he just has these ideas of watching other videos and not just in the dance world, but just, travel content, and see how like the news media are changing the game. So really for us, it's about being able to stay on top of like the trends, but also keep to the essence of what Step by Step is. So for instance, like if we do a 2-minute dance feature, like we can't do a 10-minute dance feature anymore because it just doesn't work unless it's something that like is a short documentary, right? Like if we're like creating something that's really dope. We're in the middle of planning a documentary right now, a step-by-step documentary that we're going to be releasing hopefully next year at Hip Hop International. But so it's really about like, okay, I'm going to be posting this on Instagram. Okay, and I've learned this too, probably within the last year. Like when I post a video on Instagram, you have to like find a thumbnail cover that makes it look really dope. So it's like it could be like somebody b-boying, and it's like them doing a head spin. And I know if I catch that right image, that when they see it on Instagram, they're gonna watch it because they're gonna be like, oh, and they're gonna like. Maybe it's halfway through the 60-second video, but they're going to wait long enough so that they can see if that head spin's really awesome, So it's just being able to do that. Twitter, just being able to use video now. Twitter is my favorite just to talk to people. I think that one, Twitter and Instagram are probably the best in terms of like if I want to hashtag dance and if I want to see what's out in Africa or in Asia or in small town USA or like hip hop dance, I can search that and I can reach out to those people and be like, hey, do you mind if we repost this video? Or, hey, like, would you, like send us one of your videos? We'll put it on YouTube. And now it's being able to now say that we got a video from Cairo, Egypt, or from, Idaho or Utah. So, in terms of communication, like I feel like Twitter is probably the best to just reach out to people and to talk to them and like see what's going on. And Facebook is all just about people posting information, just information and videos. That's all that Facebook is good for. Events, seeing like what people are talking about in terms of like a Facebook post, and then a video. Being able to share that on Facebook. Facebook's probably the hardest in terms of video, just because you got to keep your video from like a minute and under. Like it's got to be flashy. It's got to be right to the point. If it's anything beyond like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, people probably aren't going to watch it. Yeah. And sometimes just leading people up. So that's been a tough transition to be able to try to create that content and to be doing it every day. Like you have to be posting every day, and it's hard for me sometimes. So yeah, definitely in terms of all the different media, that's probably just what each one means. And YouTube's just oversaturated. We've just split up actually. We had our original YouTube, which is what I started with in 2011, and then we switched to one in about 2013, which is where all of our main content's been. And within the last 2 months, we've started just posting our battle footage on the original one and our feature footage and our interviews on the second one, just to split up because we have so much content. And it's actually really been great because we've been now able to start building our old YouTube, and people go there for our battles, and then people will also go to our other channels still to see like the interview or the feature that we filmed or the tutorial. So just in terms of YouTube, it's just got to be more strategic on who you're reaching out to. So
nice. Thank you for those insights. And we're going to wrap up here with our Geek Out session.
Awesome.
And in this, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. What was your favorite technology growing up? And what future technology, fiction included, would you be most excited for? So shoot away.
Shoot, I'd say like the original gaming systems in terms of technology, because us dancers, we like to like be different. we have like different characters that we play. So like if I'm locking, I'm wearing a lot of stripes because I'm using my arms a lot and I'm spinning my wrists. So the way that it looks is it looks like it's from like a circus, like one of those like crazy carnival rooms, you know, that you're walking, there's like all these mirrors and then there's like the spinning stripes. And so like you have that, like the b-boy is like the hard character that wears like the you know, the clothes, like gotta look like, gotta have the jumpsuit, or I gotta have like the Nikes, or I gotta have the Puma shoes. So like being able to relate video games with like dance is huge. Martial arts, like a lot of the old Bruce Lee, like connecting that with dance. So I'd say like definitely like the old VHS and the early DVDs, and also video game systems, because that's really where people created their character and their dance. I mean, there's been times where you're in a battle and stuff, and someone will be like, Hadouken, you know, like they'll because they create, or they'll be doing like I was talking about waving, and it'll be like, oh man, he just did like this Street Fighter move, and then he went in, or he did this Wolverine thing, and then he started a wave. So I'd say just in terms of like relating that, I'd say probably like video games. And video games are so much different now. It's not like there were so many iconic figures then, and now it's just like there's like these games where you just blow people up and blow up zombies. So I think that was a very iconic era. So if nostalgic, definitely that.
Yeah.
As far as the future, I mean, that virtual reality is crazy. I haven't tested it, but I think we're going to be able to see like more holographic type stuff. I just went to Michael Jackson's one here in Vegas last night, in the Cirque show, and not to be a spoiler alert, but I will be. During Man in the Mirror, they have like this crazy like technology where it's just like these stars, and then all of a sudden this like shooting star is like coming down, and it's creating just like this, it's just spinning, and then all of a sudden it like bursts into all these other stars, and then all of a sudden a hologram of Michael comes out, and it's him singing Man in the Mirror and doing the moves, and you're just like, whoa. Like you felt like you were like Michael was there, and it was such an emotional moment. So I feel like now that like everything's going to like live stream this, eventually we're just going to be able to have that. Is it like Minority Report? Is that the one where they have like the like Tom Cruise is just being able to have stuff in front of you, and you can just push it in front with your finger. I think that's the next thing, man. That's just going to be mind blowing, you know, is to have that, and that no matter where we're at, like we can just create this like holographic or this hologram, and you're going to be able to like dance with somebody who's in Japan on the street. Like, I think that's going to be the most wild thing in the world. And I would love to be the first one. Like if we have Step by Step, like if we have like our live talk show, and just like, okay, cool, we got somebody here, instead of, cause like that's what Skype is, right? Or that's when they have like live stream, like, hey, we got this person live, like now they can actually be here in their full size form, and you can be doing choreography or battling them, and they may not be physically there, but that's gonna be nuts. So,
yeah, take it to the next level for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
So
I like
for me, I think that's kind of like looking into the future and being like, hey man, I got to go to the moon this weekend, but I still want to be at the battle.
Sweet. Hey, Seabass, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Loved the interview, loved the content, loved, hearing more about your background, a lot of things that I didn't know, and man, you're an inspiration. I appreciate you.
Definitely try to be, but yeah, thank you for doing this. And, I think it's great what you're doing, especially with podcasts out there. I think that's something within the last couple of years, I think people are really listening and gaining a lot of new insights into what other people are thinking, what they've done. And, you know, like I said in the beginning, like, during the middle, we all have a voice, we all have a story, we all have experiences, and it's being able, we might not always agree with everything, we might not always agree with what people do, but we have this technology that we can use to kind of help each other be better, unite, and just enjoy life, you know. So that's really what it's about. That's what I'm about. That's what Step by Step's about. And you know, hopefully in the future it won't just be dance for Step by Step. Hopefully it'll be other things that, you know, life is step by step. So we could do cooking shows. We could do everything has a step by step guide that's positive and is helping the world become a better place. So yeah, awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Open angle bracket / HTML close angle bracket.